very much feels like the market is just taking a look around at any possible sector that could be disrupted by AI, selling first, asking questions later.
It's wild. I think that's the perfect context to talk about them. It's like a wrecking ball every day is pointed at a new sector. And some commonalities between them all. It's that, sort of high cost intermediary business, in the case of CBRE, part of their business, a big part of their business, obviously, is managing the properties. But then you have a lot of, valuation businesses, consulting businesses, arranging these big, complicated leases. And that's kind of one area where I think the risk is, and analysts are pointing at, is that intermediary work they do. The other thing, and their CEO got into this on the conference call a little bit today, is much more simple. It's just the fact that if AI is going to displace a lot of white-collar jobs, people are just going to need less real estate to house them. And that's a big risk for them. So kind of a two-pronged risk from this AI trade for them.
So in this instance, there wasn't necessarily some AI model or large language model that did something that replicates what these real estate services companies do specifically. It's just the possibility that it will one day.
Yeah, I think people are, we're sort of transitioning from this theoretical phase of AI, what it's potentially capable of doing, to real world applications coming out. And I think if you look at those Anthropic plugins that came out last week, that really, at first it started in the legal services, the writing's kind of on the wall there that type of business, that really sort of labor intensive intermediary business is really ripe for disruption on this. That said, a lot of analysts we've talked to, and the team I work with has talked to, a lot of investors we've talked to are like, this doesn't make a lot of sense. This is a big overreaction to a lot of this stuff. The quote I keep seeing over and over again coming into my inbox is, sell now and think about it later. You know? And so I do think, people are expecting at least, these stocks to find a bottom and maybe rebound. But that threat of disruption is there, and it's going from sector to sector for real.
So Matt Levine, who writes the Money Stuff column, says that if the market now is both optimistic about AI and jumpy about its disruptive effects on other industries, you can monetize that jumpiness. There's got to be someone making money on the waves of paranoia that are sweeping through each part of our services industry. I guess, how do we even go about looking at who that might be? Do you look at options to figure out where that is?
Yeah, I mean, I think in this case, a lot of this caught a lot of investors off guard. There wasn't quite a big positioning set up. I could be missing some things, but I think this came out of the blue for a lot of people. You look at the wealth management stocks, there's hardly any sell ratings on any of them. So.